Hello. Happy evening. I never do these lives in the evening, but here I am because why not? Do something different, right? I'm going to give folks a minute to join us. If you don't know me, if you're new to this space, I'm Jenny Glick. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, certified sex therapist, way shower for women who feel stuck in their relationships. And today, I want to talk about how it often is that we find ourselves in relationship and we don't have the kind of relationship that we want. I hear a lot of women who say, I want my partner to be more spiritual, more emotionally connected to me. I want them to be more interested in who I am. And I want to break it down for you a little bit. And I'm appropriately wearing my t-shirt, You Are My Mirror. I was going to do this live tomorrow. And then I was like, but wait, I'm wearing the uniform for this conversation right now. So welcome to this space. I'm keeping my eye on the comments. So if you're here live, feel free to drop a comment, a wave, say hi. If you're watching replay, #replay, and feel free to ask me any questions and I will go through and follow up and read them later. Okay, so we're going to draw a little picture here. So your psyche is kind of like a house. So this is you in your house, and there are a bunch of floors in your house, kind of infinite, I think, number of floors. And when you couple with someone, you get married, you move in together, you have children together, you're entering the house on this main floor, right? And this is your starting point down here. And on this main floor, it's where you're learning things like we talk about in here, communication, how to speak your truth, what's going on for you. This is all sort of the mechanics, right, of relationship. So this is the first floor, right? Makes sense. Floor number one. This is where all of us enter and we walk through the store and we think it's going to be different. We think this person's different. We think we're different. We think this person is different than our former spouse or partner, when in fact, you are my mirror. Your partner is your mirror. And so when you walk in here, out here, you maybe thought you were like amazing and everything's great and you're so calm and so patient and so remarkable. But as soon as you walk into this door with your partner, again, married, having children, or long-term relationship, living together, it's going to pull out a lot of really basic stuff. And what I talk about so often in this particular space is how to take radical accountability. Most people spend their entire relationship down here because they don't take radical responsibility for what's going on. You taking responsibility for your thinking, your feeling, your believing, your doing is what gets you up to the second floor, okay? And that responsibility is incredibly difficult because your partner usually is doing something that is really triggering for you. But let's go back to the theme. You are my mirror. So whatever it is that your partner is doing is triggering you because it's triggering something down here that is inviting you to look at a part of yourself that when you were out here before you entered this whole relationship house thing, you didn't have to look at. Hi, Jessica. Nice to see you here. Is this making sense? So when you are in long-term intimate relationship, and this can happen also with a parent, a child, a friend, it can happen with a lot of people, but it tends to show up, and I talk about it in here, in intimate partnership. You are being faced with parts of yourself, otherwise known as shadow. You're going to hear me talking about that more and more in this space. So parts of yourself that you have never needed to confront before. So the example that I often give around this is if you're someone who's a good cook, I'm not a particularly good cook, but I know that I'm not a good cook, and it wouldn't hurt my feelings if somebody said, you're not a good cook. I would agree with them and say, you are in fact right. I'm not a good cook. I'm a good baker, but I'm not a good cook, right? If I had a lot of attachment around my cooking ability, if it was a part of my identity and it felt really important for people to know that I was a really good cook, and if somebody said, "You're not a very good cook," and I got triggered, activated, pissed off, annoyed, right? That's my shadow stuff. Does that make sense? That's the part of me that's coming out, that's being mirrored by the stimuli outside of me, namely a partner, a comment, a situation, external. Okay. So this should be all review for most of you who've been in here for a period of time. So very often I hear women say that they want to have a relationship with somebody who's really emotionally available, who's really spiritual, who has a lot of depth. And in my world, that means they want to be like maybe up here in this higher level, this higher potential of their relational abilities, which is amazing. But in order to move up higher and higher, and I'm drawing this vertically, it's not better than anybody, right? Like everybody gets to do this level of work in their life, in their relationship. Everybody gets to do the next level of work and the next level, right? There's no looking down on people who are on the first floor still, as your neighbor or family member. It's just that we're all co-creating a different reality. Even that phrase, that's a higher level phrase here. Most people believe that they need to simply react or deal with whatever's happening around them. And that will keep them in this kind of 1.0 base layer of relationship. So if you want to have a higher level of intimacy, connection, a sex life that is blowing your mind, that pairs emotional connection, heart connection, breath work, all of the things, then that means you get to focus on yourself and a level of daily devotional self inquiry that will move you to different levels of your own awareness. Because as you move up in this reality in your own psyche, what happens is you have to be willing to challenge dominant narratives about things. Like the dominant narrative is, if my partner is being a jerk, they need to stop being a jerk so that I can feel better. That's baseline down here. And my belief is that's not actually true. Your partner is possibly being a jerk, but they are mirroring something. Maybe that you need to set boundaries. Maybe that your partner is not somebody who you are wanting to be with. I have spent 25 years sitting in session with women who've said to me, I knew I shouldn't have married him the day we got married. And yet 10, 20, 30 years later, they're married, right? So they had this knowing. They violated their own knowing, which is fine, right? We all have our path of learning, but they violated their own knowing and then want them to be different, right? And so it's trusting yourself enough to listen to yourself, listen to your knowing, right? So many of you have knowing, but you don't want to listen to it. And I understand that, right? You're afraid to know what you know. But crap, I can't leave this relationship because the kids, the finances, the house. Totally get that. Right. And so you will be at whatever that level is. So maybe you're here where you've taken accountability. You recognize that you chose someone who's not interested in having this kind of depth oriented relationship with you. So you've taken accountability for who you are. You're doing your own internal work, but you don't feel like you're at a place where you want to stand on that knowing to make external choices in your life, whether that's showing up differently, which is what I normally advocate for my clients to do, the women who work with me, that they take these micro pivots in their life. I was talking to a woman who I am working with right now about how to show up in a slightly more feminine posture in her life, in her relationship, because her tendency is to not show up in a feminine posture in her relationship, a healthy feminine posture, a light version of her feminine posture, right? So a light version, an expansive version of being feminine is being vulnerable, being inviting, being connected to her creativity and her heart and her feelings, right? Her shadow feminine that's been showing up has been kind of mean mommy to her husband. And that's just a dynamic that they have created over many years. I know that some of you can relate to that. Hi, Lorraine. Nice to see you here. And so the shadow of the mother archetype, right, is this shadow mother that comes up and puts you in this place where you're looking down your nose at your partner. In this case, it's her husband. And then he is embodying this little boy, and he's scared of her because she's going to criticize him and say he's not doing things right. And what she was able to identify is when she's in a healthy version of her feminine, right, where she's listening to herself, where she's trusting herself, where she's doing a lot of this work for herself. I don't want to call it work. It's she's not abandoning herself. She's standing with herself and offering parts of her to her partner. And what she sees is when she does that, he has room to show up in a healthy masculine way. This isn't true for everybody, but in her situation, she's seeing that happen because she's not smacking his hand metaphorically and telling him he's not doing it right. And so this higher level work that we do in here, and you're going to hear me talking about shadow more and more because that's my passion. And I'm not teaching the relationship mastery program in person anymore. You will have an opportunity if you want to participate in the self-study course. That will be coming out again next week. So that's this base level right here. And most women who want to do higher level shadow work with me need to have mastery in accountability already. You have to have daily skills where you are recognizing your power of choice, because choice is your superpower. You deciding what to do is your superpower. That is what creates the life that you want to have. Most people live in a place of scarcity where they say and believe, and I used to be this person too, that, well, I want to have that life, but I can't because, or I'm waiting until, fill in the blank. And so then that just creates more of that. And what you learn, and what women who work with me learn, is that the invitation is for you to fully embody who it would be when you have a new partner, have more money, have lost 10 pounds, right? Are kinder to yourself. You start doing that today. You're not waiting for it to happen later. You start being that woman in how you show up every single day from the moment you wake up first thing in the morning. You all have heard me say this, right? And as you build that internal structure, what that is that's healthy masculine. That's healthy masculine. All of us have masculine and feminine energy in us. And we get to be the healthy masculine internally first before we can ask somebody else to be the healthy masculine for us. And when I say masculine, I don't mean man, because this is true for women who are in relationships with women and men who are in relationships with men. It's just energetic ways of being, right? The healthy masculine creates a structure. There's this staccato in music. It's the heartbeat, right? It's this steady, the drum, right? Every morning you wake up and meditate. Every time you look at yourself in the mirror, you say, oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. I love you. What a beautiful body I have. So grateful to be here, right? That steadiness every single day, infused with the healthy feminine of kindness, of creativity, of love, of passion, of empathy, right? So you start practicing that here on these bottom levels of the house right? Every single day. And you start seeing how it is that people around you show up, and it throws a glitch in the system because it's showing you your limit. Oh, it's really hard for me to be kind and compassionate to myself when I haven't had rest, when I don't feel well, when I'm afraid I'm about to lose my job, when the neighbor said something mean, when I watch something on the news and I collapse. So it's happening outside of me is a mirror for what is going on inside of me. And when you're courageous enough to see that, what you're doing is you're embarking on shadow work, right? And those of you who've heard of Carl Jung know that he's the father of shadow work. Marianne Woodman, I would say, is the mother of shadow work in more contemporary times. There are many books that you can read about this. And ultimately, the practice is being aware of yourself, practicing noticing when you're slipping into being a victim in your own life. Many weeks ago, months ago in here, I did a training on the drama triangle. Some of you will remember that, where we get stuck in rescuer, perpetrator, and victim, right? In this drama triangle, when you're in that drama triangle, you can't move up to higher levels of your house. You're going to be stuck down here because you're making somebody else wrong. You're trying to save somebody else, right? You're in scarcity mode. So if you're someone who is saying, but I want to, have something more, I want to be more intimately, spiritually, emotionally connected to my partner, start looking at where it is that you are not engaging intimately, emotionally, and spiritually with yourself on a regular, right? And close that gap internally first. If you're interested in possibly working with me, I have one more spot in my Shimmer Your Shadow experience, and it's going to be an experience. We start next week on Wednesday. It's 4 months. It's a small, intimate group. I'm going to be pouring all my heart and soul into that space. Would love to have you. I'm keeping it very small. And so I do have one more spot. If you're interested, feel free to message me. And if you're still doing that base layer work where you're practicing on accountability, make sure you're on my email list. I'll post a link below, and I will be offering the newly revised and revitalized Relationship Mastery Program online. It's a self-study course next week, and the first 2 people who enroll in that will be offered a free private session with me. And so get on my email list so you will be the first to hear about that. Thanks so much for being here. Have a wonderful evening. And again, if you're watching this on replay, #replay, drop a comment, a post, wave in the chat for me, and I will make sure to come back and check it out. Thanks for being here.